GDP and VMT have historically been strongly correlated. Gross domestic product is a measure of our national economy, and vehicle miles traveled are often shown in either terms of average or per capita miles traveled or as a total. As one grew, the other grew, though there may be disagreement about which one causes the other. An economy built on the connectivity of goods and people would logically find this strong positive relationship between GDP and VMT because the movement of goods and people is likely to represent the economic activity and vice versa. Economic activity is likely to generate movement and travel. Freight is often referred to as the physical manifestation of the economy. Looking a little more closely at the past 25 years, we see a disruption in this relationship. At the start of the 2008-2009 recession, GDP and VMT dropped simultaneously. However, the economy, in terms of GDP growth, recovered relatively quickly, while the vehicle miles traveled lagged behind and was stagnant for several years. So even though GDP had steady growth from 14 trillion to 18 trillion over this 8-year time period, VMT had a sharp drop and then was stable for 5 years and then had rapid growth. Did this event signal a change in the relationship between VMT and GDP? Perhaps this was indicative of the change in the structure of the economy, where an equal amount of mobility was no longer directly related to economic growth. We often overlook the impact of supply and demand in transportation networks, particularly on our roads, because most roads, except for toll roads, do not have a direct, explicit cost for traveling on them. In this context, if the cost of driving increases, we would expect people to drive less, and if the cost of driving decreases, we would expect people to drive more. When examining the relationship between VMT and the cost of fuel, we can see an inverse relationship. Particularly in the past 10 years, as fuel prices increased, driving decreased, and vice versa. With higher gas prices from 2011 to 2014, VMT was lower. And then as fuel prices dropped and stabilized at a lower amount, VMT increased. So we should be cognizant of the impact that fuel cost has on travel demand and the miles we drive.